benchmark that anymore. But give me time to teach
right
something before you
right
benchmark again.
This is my
I got you.
every day. Of course, there's another. And we'll whatever day.
Not anymore.
I mean
The one you keep doing.
That you're not even listening to it. The next week I have time to
There you go. Yeah. All right, ladies, we're gonna go ahead and get started right now. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Just not gonna worry about the time frame. That should be covered. Like I said, Miss Perkins should be on her way if she's not gonna be absent. And first thing we wanna make sure is how everybody doing. Breathe. Breathe. All right. And so just making sure that you guys just take a moment just to reflect anything that's going on. I know everybody have a lot of things going on right now. The fact that you're here, we definitely appreciate that. Hey, that I'm here, I appreciate that I'm here. Just got a lot of things going on outside of the realm of school, and just keeping that in mind, especially during the holiday season. You know, so just make sure you're just thinking about everybody. Just never know, okay? With that being said, just kind of want to open up any celebrations or things anybody want to share out since we last met on last Friday.
I made it to today.
Small wins. Small wins.
We didn't look at the kids yesterday.
Oh, good.
Good. I did see the pictures too.
Did
Oh yeah, I got them.
Peter Pan and Mecca.
Oh.
And we went to the board meeting on yesterday. We had a good turnout of teachers who came to support. They recognized the school, provided us with some banners, and then they'll be coming here. The board or some of the members will be coming here individually to the school to speak to the teachers and give little whatnots. So it was really good just to kind of be amongst those people getting recognized. And it was a really good feeling. Thank you all. Could not have done it without any of your help. I just want you all to know that we're very proud of you all. All right. My meeting is room 9. Yeah, room 9. Ms. Harris yesterday. All right. And with that being said, we're ready to move into our team building activity by Ms. Tiffany.
Okay, guys. First thing, I want to do like a little short video, and I'm gonna ask you some questions afterwards. And the first time I saw this video, I thought it represented my house, my husband and I talking to one another. But when I got through watching it, I had another way of looking at it. So I want you to watch it, then we'll talk. Real short.
Listen to what I'm saying. 2. 1 bit of bread into exact triangles. Repeat what I've just said.
1 bit of bread into exact triangles.
Go.
Use scissors.
Use whatever you want. One triangle. It's not a triangle, Jen.
It's got no point on it, but that'll do. Done.
How are you done? How are you done?
Alright, that one's not exactly pointy. I'm
Right.
trying to make it pointy.
1 bit of bread in 2 exact triangles.
Yep.
Triangle. Look, listen to what I'm
triangle, weird triangle.
Listen to what I'm saying. 1 bit of bread
Yes.
in 2 exact triangles, yeah?
Yes.
In 2 exact triangles.
Yeah.
What's that?
Triangle, 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 triangle.
So what's all that?
Just the shitty bits I didn't need.
Yeah. So cut 1 bit of bread in 2 exact triangles. Try it again.
Triangles. What? I don't understand, Brad. That's a triangle, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got 4
Do you know what a
triangles.
triangle looks like?
You've got 4 triangles.
Do you know what a
This is
triangle looks like?
You've got 4 triangles.
Do you know what a
Guess
triangle
what a
looks
triangle
like?
looks like? You've got 4 triangles, yeah?
Yes.
And a load of little scrap bits. I'm saying
Yes.
cut 1 bit of bread in 2 exact triangles.
Into exact triangles.
So, what does that mean?
Into triangles, Bradley, which I'm doing. You obviously don't know what a fucking triangle looks like, do you? Yeah.
You've done it wrong already. Jen, you've done it wrong already.
I haven't, Brad. It's a bit of a...
Jen, you've done it wrong already.
I haven't, look! Triangle, triangle, triangle.
No, you're not. Jen, cut 1 bit of bread in 2 exact triangles. Jen, listen to me.
I haven't listened to you, Bradley. You're not listening
Cut
to
1
me.
bit of bread in 2 exact triangles. Do you want me to show you how to do it? That ain't right.
What? Tell me what that
What's
is.
that?
Tell me what's wrong with the triangles then.
Cut 1 bit of bread.
Cause I said, take out the tens, and then take out the ones.
Yeah? 2 exact triangles. 1, 2.
Okay.
So this
Your
is.
triangle.
Okay. When I first started, I still said, I was like, this is not, this is not. We go back and forth. You know, but if something's not going over, I feel like I'm right, he feel like he's right. But, as you notice, he cut it in the middle, right? So he had two triangles. But she was saying, he was saying T-W-O, she was saying T-O-O. So is what you really saying is what is really real, what's really being heard? Cause so you know, like last week we were talking, and you said you have to get your kids to explain what you said. Cause even though we think we're saying what we want them to do, it don't always come across to them that way. So they need somebody else to say it the way they heard it. And sometimes, even though we do turn and talk, I don't think it goes over then. I think it only comes across when they're doing the application or the concept development, when they're really working on something, and they really go back and like, no, that's not
Right.
So that's how you know how to explain it. That was my point. It's what you said and it wasn't really being heard.
A lot of times things are misinterpreted, not even just amongst the children, but amongst the teachers as well. So just kind of make sure that always asking questions. A lot of times the answer is in the room. I might have said it one way. You might have interpreted it another way. Jerry might have heard it this way. And just make sure that we keep the open communication so we can get a good, clear understanding. All right. 2 things before we go into the actual meat of the agenda for Ms. Jerry. I want to go into the team's vision. Ms. Randall, you can read that for me, please.
Thank you for catching me before
I
I put
want
food
to
in my
get
mouth.
got the drink.
Vision. We are a forward-thinking team in a rapidly changing world. We are aiming to prepare our students to be college and computer ready by equipping them with the tools to be proficient in numeracy, critical thinking, and problem solving, by using data-driven processes to achieve our results. Every team member is committed to ensuring students will excel to be successful today and prepared to be successful for tomorrow.
Right. And our 4 essential questions that we're going to be working with today, Ms. Carter, you can read those for.
For essential questions?
Yes, ma'am.
What it is we want students to learn. How will we know that they have learned? How will we respond when some students do not learn it? And how can we extend and enrich the learning for students who have demonstrated proficiency?
One of the important things that we talked about last week was how can we extend, enrich, how do we know they're learning it, because we want to continue that thing throughout this meeting as well. And then for the norms, I just want you to lock in into a norm that you have. You would just highlight or put a norm in your head that you want to focus on for today. I know mine is being engaged, so you don't have to lift yours into the space, but make sure you lock into a norm, stick to it, and let's make sure we go by those. If you have any questions about today's activity, this is open dialogue. Feel free to share out any thought processes so we can hear your thoughts around each action item. And with that being said, we have Ms. Jeffries, who is actually going to lead us in perfect practice for today. And while we're waiting, we have two things. These opportunities, these are some professional development opportunities. This is a Zone 9 collaborative session that they're going to have on tomorrow. I know it is last minute. It just came across my desk.
Okay.
In the event that you are able to attend, that would be greatly appreciated. If not, I totally understand. And I did not see any module studies upcoming for January, but I know they are on the horizon. So just make sure that you stay abreast around the upcoming module studies. And we had someone who went to a module study on yesterday. Ms. Randall,
Yes.
would you mind sharing out some of the things they discussed?
It was really good. Christine Bingham, who is over K-5 math, led the module study, and for 5th grade, I know it doesn't affect everyone else, it really came into the fact that this was the meat of what we're doing, because it's all brand new instruction for the module that we're getting ready to start. But she did have one takeaway that was really important, which applies to everybody, is that our standards are not teach them one time and they're going to be mastered. In fact, the standards probably are not mastered at this point in time. They won't be mastered until the end of the school year. And so we just have to keep that. I know right now I'm really frustrated with my students. And that bit of clarity, just remember, they're not supposed to have it all mastered. You're not going to, these aren't SBIs. You're not going to one and done. So, that was a good takeaway. Just remember that the standards are embedded, one standard goes through the entire year, and so you're constantly rehitting it. So that was a nice mental reminder of, oh yeah, that's right, we gotta not get frustrated with them.
Trust the process. Trust the process. I know that's been a thing that sometimes when I go in and visit classrooms, I see students who are struggling on certain activities, standards and whatnot, and just being aware that not only will those standards spiral back in eventually at some point in time, but also how we discussed last week, the directive instruction, how can we implement it in the classroom time to make sure that we're hitting some of those items that they missed on the assessments, so they can not only get the spiraling in of those standards, but see how they can improve on their next assessment in regards to mastering that particular standard. So all of that actually ties in. I'm glad Christine Bingham was there. She's a big person who can give a lot of information from, a lot of insight and clarity in regards to Eureka in all grade levels. With that being said, Ms. Washington will be here today. She wants to just come in and debrief to see how everything's going, so just kind of want to put that in your ear too. And Ms. Jeffries.
Okay. What I was actually going to show today, and it's not big, I don't know why it was showing on that computer but not up here, but was the application problem, applying it. And I know sometimes this is difficult for my students, and it kind of reminded me of the video you showed, because we're reading it and we're like, okay, this is simple, but they're seeing it a different way. So with the application problem, depending on what it is, I move it around in my lessons. Sometimes it is my do now, if it's a review skill, and sometimes I, keep it after the fluency, and sometimes I move it because sometimes it's a skill that I'm teaching that day. So with the application problem, they have to do redraw right. So one thing I know with 4th graders is we're struggling with multi-step problems. So I think our time limit is 5 minutes for application problem? And that's a lot for them to do in 5 minutes. So it depends on my group. So I have, some groups, they read this, did it independently, and they were able to solve it correctly, and I kind of took up some of their papers. I passed these around. Some are correct, some are not correct. But I had students that read the problem. 96 pencils come in a box. If 4 teachers share 3 boxes equally, how many pencils does each teacher receive? So it's a multi-step problem. It's also going through multiplication and division. So I had some students that just took all 3 numbers and added them, even though, you know, there was no clues. So we go through, and I have them go through cubes to identify the information, what's important. Some of my students drew tape diagrams to kind of model what they saw, which you'll see some drew equal groups and literally drew tally marks. Some did, you know, tens, ones. Some just did some of my higher students, all they did was just the multiplication and the division. A lot of students, when they saw this problem, they took the 96 and they divided it by 3. So I kind of had to take the problem and break it apart, and I literally had to go get a big, huge box of pencils and write 96 on them, and I literally had to, like, apply it to real life. There are 96 pencils in this box, and then I had some other boxes. Okay, we got 3 boxes, and then you can see the light bulbs go off. Oh, then I said, okay, there's 4 4th grade teachers. All of us need pencils, so after we figure out how many pencils we got total right here, you know, now we're gonna dump them and we gotta pass them out to the teachers. How many? So you could see them start, and they started working in their groups, and they were able to figure it out. And, you know, one of my students was like, well, I took 96 and I divided it by 4, and then I just multiplied that by 3, and I was like, I didn't even think about that. You know, that's another way to do it. So it's really like how they interpret the problem, which goes right with what she was sharing with the video. And I know this is a struggle with my students, the application problem, because they don't want to read, or they read, but they really don't dive into exactly what it's saying, or they don't want to do all the steps. Even if I say, okay, we talked through it, how many steps do we have? Did you do all the steps? It's a problem. And then even on some of the examples, they had the right work, but their statement was incorrect. They didn't, you know, answer the question correctly.
Any feedback off of the degrees in regards to some of the things students were doing, some actions that she could have used?
It's not so much feedback, but in light of the training and all this is fresh in my head. Christine said it was very important, keep doing the tape diagrams.
Okay.
Keep doing the tape diagrams. She shared with us somewhere between 85 and 95% of the SAT can be solved using tape diagrams. So we're really setting them up for success if they can do the tape diagrams. So just that she was like, I know you're frustrated because your brain doesn't think that way, but it's really helping them. So she said just keep working with the tape diagrams.
I think we're the same school line as seeing it all the way from elementary through middle school through high school. Just preparing them for the ACT. If there's a tool that they can use or a strategy they can use, like you said, keep on using it, keep on get the practice. And moving from there, and that's a thing that we talked about on last meeting when we discussed some of the issues from grade to grade. It is a lot of the multi-step problems, the reading and making sure that they are interpreting the problems correctly and not interpreting as the video. That was a perfect video in regards to what we actually witnessed in our classroom daily. They're giving it one way, the question is asking them another way, and then you get 2 different answers, but they are telling you why it's right in their own way. But in the way that they call the big suits who go and scoring the papers, so they're looking at it a different way. So how can we get them to understand the way that the big suits are actually going around scoring those papers? So very good. We want to make sure. I just want to thank you for doing that perfect practice and just seeing how they look from last week's perfect practice with Ms. Jones to you, and then seeing how we can actually give feedback and can get some better understanding of how that looks even from a lower grade to upper grade. I said the whole purpose behind that activity, and I thank you all for that. All right, and moving right on into the data-driven instruction part. We do have an assessment tool for iReady now. I'm going to let Ms. Randall speak more on that, because we want to actually use that as a form of assessment when we're doing, especially starting at the end of December. We want to see how the assessment calendar is looking. We know we have a lot of assessments going on currently right now, and just seeing if this is something that we're going to use at the end of December or when we come back in January. But we want to make sure we have everybody who is actually able to understand the process around creating assessments on iReady.
One question before
Yeah.
you. I tried to log in on already when we gave the information. It's just coming up, math, science isn't coming up. It said, and when I used the license, it said a license was already applied to my account, but it
It'll come up.
No, sir.
Take a look at it.
Okay.
It's fine for me.
Okay. I got it.
All right. iReady has a strand, I guess we can call it, called, what's it, Mastery? Standards Mastery. I knew the word mastery was in there. And you can only log in and set up an assessment as an administrator. Mr. Wilson's been generous enough that he's going to let you use his, but you cannot log in through Clever. You have to go in, do a search for iReady, log in, and log in through there. When you get this, you know, this is your screen that you come on, and you click here where it says Build Standards Mastery right here. That's not going to work. There we go. And it'll bring this up, and you can go ahead.
Perfect time to get my username and password. It's admin, ADMIN, Wilson, WILSON, C3, at SCSK12.org. That's the entire username. The password is capital M, R, C, A, L, L, A, W, A, Y, 01. This will be emailed to you.
You want to email it to us?
Yes,
Okay.
I will.
All right.
What was the numbers on it?
01.
01. Okay, so if you come over here, you'll see three. I guess I can slide that over.
Yeah.
There we go. You'll see three. What's the buzz? License usage and build and assign standard mastery assessment. That's where you're going to go. So when you click on there. This is really off, but you do
I
that.
know.
Yep.
I was thinking the
I'm about to go up there and just click on there. Okay, and you say mathematics and build new text. Since I'm 5th grade, I'm going to go here to 5th grade, but you see you can bring up any of your grade levels that you want.
Okay, when it's separate, I have that for you all.
Oh.
Yes.
And here are the 5th grade standards, which I know I'm the only one who can live, breathe, and eat them. But you can see here, okay, in theory, I have taught all of the standards in base 10. So I can go here and I can look through what they have here. Okay, what do I know I've completely taught? Well, I know that I have done, where's my being difficult? This add and subtract decimals. Where are you? This works a whole lot better on my computer, just so you know, Mr. Wilson.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll pick a
Yeah,
standard.
just pick one.
Now I'll pick one. Okay. Round decimals, why not? That's where we're working. Okay. So if I do that, if I come over here to the side, no decimals. And you have two forms. You have Form A, Form B. But what's nice about this is you can preview what it looks like. Okay. And you can click through here, and it'll actually bring up sample questions. Okay. And you can actually solve them to see what they look like, what's the work like. And I believe there are about 5 or 6 per sample. Yeah. So what you would do then is you say, okay, I'm going to use Form A, and you're going to click Save Test. Personally speaking, I would only use one standard, because you can push this on to iReady, and it'd be a good way just, okay, I know I taught adding and subtracting decimals, and I've taught it, and I've retaught it, and I retaught it, and I retaught it. Let me just see who's got this down now. So, I have my rounding decimals test. I say I'm going to save it. And it brings this up here where you can say, contains 6 questions. It should take them 15 minutes. You can choose to preview it, save it, or you can, if you save it, you can assign the test later, or you can go ahead and say, I'm going to assign this, and I want them to take it right now. And you can pick the days where you want them to take the assessment. So let's say you want them to do it in the classroom. You pick your one standard, and you're going to rotate them on and off the computers while they're working on that. Or you can say, okay, when they go to the computer lab, they're going to make sure that they do this. When you do that, I'm going to say just save test. So I can come up here where I can view and assign my test. There we go. Here it is right here. And somewhere there is a button that says assign. Again, I can preview. Here's my assigned test, and if I bring that up, I'm working on it. I can pick the day that I wanted them to test. So I can choose the test on one day, I can choose the test for an extended, week, whatever I want to do. And it will push it onto the iReady so that they have to take it before they can do something else. So I wouldn't just push it on there and not tell them. I'm going to say, okay, this is going in the grade book. You need to make sure you do well on it. This is something you should know how to do. And then that way, it's just another way to come up with an assessment. And because it's online, it's grading it for you. Mm-hmm. Lord knows I'm drowning in papers right now. So that's just something that, it's another tool we can use. I'm going to get rid of this because I'm not ready to do rounding. I want to do add and subtract that. But that is a great way to just go in there and, if you've got your RTI group and you've been doing, second grade work, you can build the test and assign it to them at the second grade level if you need to. So. And I was asking for this last year and getting frustrated because we didn't have access to it last year.
Now we have access to it and we can use this. When you were saying use for your RTI group, especially how can you respond when some students do not learn it. A good teachable moment. They have great assessment items on here. They also can be used during do now activities as well, even when you're doing RTI or your small groups when you're doing RTI for your other groups. They can use these same assessment items. You can actually copy and paste how you want to do it and create those so students get practice around those. And I think that this is going to be one thing, like you said, just even in a more efficient way. You don't have to worry about so much grading in regards to paperwork. It has, I believe all the questions are multiple choice, if I'm not mistaken, though. I haven't seen any open-ended questions. That's the only thing. But just looking at this as a resource, so to align to the standard that you're teaching. And even with Ms. Jefferson, I went to her class on yesterday, she was saying how she's assigning the students the extra lessons. That's the blue tab, if I'm not mistaken. Blue tab, yeah. She's assigning those students extra lessons that get practice on a particular standard that she sees that they're not mastering. Another good way to utilize iReady not only in the classroom, but when they're actually in the computer lab as well. So just keeping that in mind, okay?
And that's not giving them time, either though. the extra lesson don't give time.
It does.
It's only the prescribed or
Yeah.
whatever.
It doesn't count for the
It doesn't count.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't count for the minutes. But one thing about this year in particular, they're not really focused on the minutes.
Okay.
So like last year, I would give reports after reports.
Right,
You know,
right.
you all in the red, you all did this, but they really haven't been focused on the minutes more so. So I don't know. That came across my desk. So just don't get caught up in the minutes part. Just want to get caught up in the part that we know they don't understand the particular lesson. Let's get them more practice on it. All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Malcolm. And the next question I have the NWA MAP Data Parent Meeting, which is going to be next December 14th. That is next Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So what that meeting will entail, because we have students who are still testing in MAP, which will probably go all the way through next Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Here in Newberry, we should be complete with MAP testing by next Tuesday, which will give us enough time to actually pull those student data reports, student goal setting sheets. Share those with the parents when they come in, just like we did last year. They can actually see where their students performed it from fall to winter. And then we want to make sure we tell them that we're measuring from fall to spring. That's going to be the end result. We want to see how they're progressing thus far. That'll also be a good time to share with the parents any type of scoring they'll be doing on their benchmark assessments and see how things are kind of aligning. And so the parents can actually see, okay, what it is that the students may possibly need help with, and things that they can do at home, or anything that they see that they're struggling with at home that we can help them with here. Just in regards to MAP testing, I want to speak to that right now. Just make sure you continue to monitoring those students when they're on the assessments. Make sure that the students who have not completed any assessment, make sure you complete those in your classrooms, and just make sure that they are being monitored at the same time. And for any student who have trouble getting on to MAP, who may be new to Newberry, I can pull those students and they can so they can get some data on them as well. And the other thing about the MAP, and we're going to get into this when we meet on next week, we're going to talk about how we are in regards to our SMART goals, to see how we're meeting them. And so as soon as you get that NWEA MAP data back, go ahead and insert it on your data tracker. It'll be one less thing you have to worry about. The reports are normally ready 24 hours after you test. If not, if you test them today, they'll be ready first thing in the morning. Just make sure you go ahead and pull that data, put them on those trackers so we can go ahead and start having those discussions when I come around to you all individually to do individual planning, and we can discuss around some of the trends that we're seeing amongst some of the students. One thing that will also help, I have the blueprints, I know you have these, just want to put an extra copy in your hand. And so what we're doing with the blueprints, I know we have in third and fourth grade, Ms. Jones, yeah. In third and fourth grade, we actually took the major work of the grade and we provided Ms. McMorris and Ms. Harris with this document, also with a outline of some items that they can do through the teacher toolbox that they can use to help with the major work of the grade. And they are using their time during their science block, 30 minutes roughly, to help reinforce those skills that students may have been struggling with. So I definitely want to give them a great round of applause for that, being a team player. We really do appreciate their help. And if there's anything that they need, please make sure that you assist them with any help that they may need and materials they may possibly need, so we can all make sure we help achieve this goal together. And just keeping in mind that the major work, make sure you're focusing on that. Don't get too caught up in some of the other things. I know we have actually tweaked some pacing guides for some grades to kind of, for Ms. Jefferson, I know we moved something up so we won't have to kind of focus on fractions when we come back from the Christmas break in its entirety, as opposed to splitting it from December to January. And so just kind of keeping that in mind too. So if you ever want to get into tweaking or saying, Mr. Wilson, I think we should kind of do this, that's a good thing that we can discuss during our individual planning time. Okay? the efficacy walk and student surveys. So I know we discussed this on last week with 4th and 5th, and you do have time frames in which you have to get that completed. I did see Miss Carter. I just happened to look over at your notes, and I saw that you had some good things, and I just want to point out Miss Carter. When I came to her class last week after our meeting, Miss Beard and Miss Barbara came to me and said, we're doing efficacy walks now. And so the fact that I hear that she's actually sharing that language with her teammates who are not in the meeting meant a lot to me, just so they can understand what's going on in regards to even some of the things that we're doing as a team that spill over to the entire school. And so just briefly, a brief summary of what you've seen so far, Miss Carter. It's very, very brief because we're going to get very more in depth and in detail with this on next week's meeting.
Just listening in the hallways or in my class or next door to me. Good morning, students. And of course, I also show the action. Teachers usually give a hug to a lot of students. Also, I'm hearing a lot of make sure you turn your homework in. I'm hearing a lot of that. So the teachers are making sure that the homework is in. 5th grade, I liked how they're trying to redirect their behavior. So I'm listening to think about what you did. Why did you do that? So I like that with the 5th graders. And of course with teachers and teachers, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I heard that. Also, I've seen an email where the teacher said, I really appreciate what you're doing. So that's positive.
Can you hear some negatives? Don't be ashamed now.
Okay, I like that. Well, I tried to do negative. Why are you behaving like that? And then can you think about why you did that? That's one of my negative things that I saw.
And when we get more into that walk through protocol on next week, and I know we'll have a lot of data to work with once everybody comes back to the table with what they're hearing in the building from teacher to teacher, student to teacher, and whatnot. We'll have a lot more discussion around that and give us a good time to create that baseline. And I think that one thing that even that as I walk through the halls, I know it varies daily, and I know, it might be that time of the day where, you kind of feeling a little just a little out of it or whatnot, but just make sure we just keep in, positive thoughts in our heads at all times. And just make sure it's for the babies, inspiration. At the end of the day, we just want to make sure we keep those positive thoughts because some of the babies, these are the only positive things that they get on a regular. They don't get it when they get home, so just keep that in mind for all. All right? And as we wrap up our meeting, I did want to know if we had any pressing questions or needs from myself. On Friday, I will come around with you all individually to check to see what it is that you possibly need. I have some info for you, Ms. Randall, off of what we talked about yesterday morning. I'll share that with you on Friday. And if there's anything else that you need from me, please let me know. During the end of that time, I want to make sure that we stay at the forefront of the school and just let them see us work, and it's going to trickle down. I promise it's going to trickle down. And I have an exit ticket for us right here. It's a keep, change, stop. Some of the things that we're doing. This is team-wise. Team-wise. Some things that we want to keep doing, some things that we still need to change, some things that need to come to a screeching halt. And this is going to be your exit ticket for today. Please be mindful of next meeting topics. Be mindful of next meeting topics. We will discuss those on next Wednesday. Next Wednesday. And once you get done with your exit ticket, you can just post it. You can just post it on your way out the door. And if you have no further questions, I hope you all have a great day. Yep, I got it right here.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
No, you're fine.
Oh, I had to get it for you. I get it for you. I get it for you.
Oh, okay.
Yep, because I had.
Don't worry about it. I see it said push here.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.